This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back.
Hey everybody, it's May 8th and it's time for another Throwback Thursday episode. But before we get into that, I want to throw it back to some other May 8ths in history so that maybe you can impress your friends with how deep your music knowledge goes. First of all, let's wish Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michel Gondry a happy birthday. You might know him for making amazing movies such as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or The Science of Sleep, but I first knew him for directing incredible music videos like Isabel and Army of Me and Hyper Ballad and Human Behavior for Björk, as well as some amazing videos for the White Stripes and Daft Punk and the Chemical Brothers, and even the Lucas with the Lid Off music video. Go check out his work if you're not familiar with it. It's a fun rabbit hole to go down. Also on this day in 1970, the Beatles released their final studio album, Let It Be, in the UK. It came out here in the US on May 18th of 1970. On May 8th of 1976, I played this at the beginning of the episode, John Sebastian's Welcome Back, which was the theme song to the TV series Welcome Back, Kotter, went to #1 on the Hot 100. That show was a little bit before my time, but I certainly know the song, as you probably do too. It's a pretty fun song. It's weird that a theme song would go to #1. I think maybe the Friends theme song went to #1 in the 90s. I'm not sure about that. I have to double check. Anyway, also on May 8th of 2001, Sum 41 released their debut album, All Killer, No Filler, and we had Derek Weibly on the show years ago to discuss the writing and recording of Fat Lip from that album. I thought this would be a really good opportunity to release that as the Throwback Thursday episode, but then I looked, and I already released that one as the Throwback Thursday episode before, so you're just going to have to Google that one up or scroll back wherever you get your pods to check that one out if you didn't hear it. That's a great episode. We are going to throw it back to an episode that came out in May a few years ago, though. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that ChrisDeMakes.com is where you can go to check out the Chris DeMakes A Podcast Patreon. If you love some music history, the After Party podcast, which you get instant access to hundreds of episodes of, plus a new episode every Monday. Yeah, that's the podcast for you. ChrisDeMakes.com. It's the most direct way you can support what we do here at Chris DeMakes A Podcast. All right, that's enough of my preamble here. Today, we're throwing it back to May 1st of 2023 when Bert McCracken of The Used sat in for episode number 153 to discuss the writing and recording of The Taste of Ink. Summer's almost here, and this song just feels like a summer anthem even all these years later. So I hope you all enjoy this episode.
Is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Standing with your spotlight on me. Not enough to feed the hungry. I'm tired and I felt it for a while now.
Hey friends, today's guest is Bert McCracken, lead vocalist for the Orem, Utah rock band, The Used. Together we dissect the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the hit single, The Taste of Ink, taken from their 2002 self-titled debut album. This song is awesome. I've loved it since the day I heard it, and getting to break it down all these years later with an old friend was so cool. The Used story is one of triumph, perseverance, and having a few stars line up along the way. Their first demo recording somehow found its way to producer John Feldmann, who took the band under his wing, fine-tuned and dialed in their songs, then began shopping them to major labels, eventually signing with Warner Brothers Records. The Taste of Ink blew up at radio and MTV, and giant tours such as Mayhem, Taste of Chaos, Warped Tour, and Ozfest put the Used in front of massive audiences. Bert mentioned that he's still extremely proud of this song and his lyrics, as he should be. It's a ripper. And the inspiration for the title of the song is awesome, something I never would have guessed. So for all this and a ton more, sit back and get comfortable. This is a good one.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast.
Bert, how are you?
Dude, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good.
Nice.
I don't know what, how fond of your memories of touring with Less Than Jake are back in the day, but your name comes up a lot, my friend, in our camp. Let me tell you. And we'll save it for another podcast, but I had a ball with you when we were younger.
That's right. We did tons of crazy tours together.
Absolutely. And I always say this in the show. I don't know where the years have went, but Bert, you're living in Australia, Sydney. How long you been there for now?
I've been down here for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Time
flies.
I did not realize it's been that long. Does it
Yep.
feel like home there, or you still kind of got one foot in the States and one foot there?
Well, it does feel like home when I'm on an airplane and I start to hear that horrific Australian accent. I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm home. But I still have a U.S. phone. I'm still kind of floating. I can't ditch my U.S. phone, so.
Gotcha. Well, I did a little bit of researching, as I do for these episodes, and before I get to that, I gotta say, not just because you're here, not because you're an old friend, but if I had to pick a song in the 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, maybe even my number one, definitely in the top three, The Taste of Ink. This song is awesome, man. Every time we ever toured together, your band, I could be backstage. I would hear the song start, and I would run back through the halls or through the field where we were at. I wanted to see you play this song because there's something special about it. We get those tracks, if you're lucky enough to get to be a band that gets those tracks that resonate with people for whatever reason. And if you could take us back to writing the track, I did find the demo that doesn't really have a chorus. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but the foundation was there, the feel, your phrasing.
For a while now, baby, seem lovely. The taste of ink is getting old. It's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. Each day just will wrap like a still I can see it coming. What a feeling in the rain.
You were definitely appealing to someone like John Feldmann, who ended up producing the record. John was living and still lives in California, and I understand he had you guys come out based on this demo
Right.
to look for a deal at the time, and he could see through it. And having been, I know what the scene was like in the 90s in Salt Lake City. It was incredible,
Yeah.
the punk rock scene, and you
Yeah, it
guys
was
came
really
from
great.
that. And you had everything. You were young. You were just a maniac, as you know, back then for sure. And you had
That
this
helps.
disenfranchised youth being from, Mormon country, Salt Lake. And take us back. Was this one of the first songs that you wrote for the project?
I think we had a bunch of other demos first. I remember this one being really special. And I was living with Quinn at the time. His house was kind of shabby, so it kind of fit the theme of, getting to that escape point, really finding your place and going there, So yeah, I wrote the lyrics in the middle of the morning, 4 o'clock is what the time was. Hence the iconic line that everyone sings every single time we play it. Yeah, so I wrote the song that night, and when you write a song, sometimes after you finish the melody and the lyrics, you're like, okay, this is really, really good. So we had this chorus that was really, really not as good as the verses.
Now I'm ready to be free. Let me
I would almost describe it as art rock. The choruses on the demo was very artsy and like post-punk. I'm like, what is this? But at the same time, I knew where you were coming from, if that makes sense, even though it didn't end up being the song that we all know and love.
Yeah, I kind of came from a totally different world than my band. They were all kind of fans of Goldfinger and Rancid, and for me, I was just a fan of like Ink and Dagger and Texas Is the Reason, and these bands that were quite obscure and I guess you'd say artsy. So yeah, in the beginning, I was kind of trying to avoid anything that was close to the chorus that we ended up with. But yeah, I slowly came around. We sent the demo to John Feldmann. I think he was in Europe at the time, and he called us back the next day. He's like, "This is absolutely fucking incredible. I'm going to fly you guys out. We'll do a demo. We'll see what happens." So
what was that like? You were like 19.
Yeah, I was 18 and we were over the moon. We couldn't believe it. I remember being at the airport and just like, this can't really be happening. We're going to record a proper demo. We loved our original demo. I remember we had a disc of it and we asked the bowling alley to play it. And everyone in the bowling alley was like, wow, what the fuck is this? So I think we kind of had an inkling of where this possibly could go. We knew that it was different and we knew that it was really good, actually. We were kind of really proud of it and confident. So yeah, John Feldmann heard the jam. He flew us out. We recorded Maybe Memories, Box Full of Sharp Objects, and The Taste of Ink. And driving around at 5 a.m, listening to the songs as loud as we could. John Feldmann had this way about him where he was nonstop. You know, he could work 24 hours a day for a week straight.
Dude is intense, man.
Yeah.
He has always been that way.
Super awesome work ethic. He definitely inspires me to push and push and push and find that drive.
So you were into this, like, you know, post-punk, Texas Is the Reason, some of these bands. And at the same time, you know, there's tags and labels put on everything, as you know. You were lumped into Screamo. I heard all the descriptors of your band, but very early on when I saw you, I'm like, okay, this kid can hide behind the facade that he's a screamer, but he can sing. I knew you could sing, and I heard you, and it was just like, okay, yeah, he can scream. And my listeners know I have scream envy. If I scream like you guys, I wouldn't be able to sing the rest of the set. So I would love to be able to do it, but you blended those so well. You sang so well, and then you had the parts where you had to scream and do that thing, and it was the perfect mashup, in my opinion.
Yeah, we initially, the kind of phrase emo was such a bum out to us. You know what I mean? Like, we're a rock band. But I think full circle and seeing this resurgence, I'm always saying we're an emo band now. We're the fucking most emo of bands that exists. But yeah, the demo was absolutely insane. We showed it to a few people. They flipped out. We ended up doing showcases for every major label that existed at the time.
And then you ended up signing with Warner Brothers, and your A&R guy was, of course, Craig Aronson, who was Less Than Jake's A&R guy at both Capitol Records and at Warner Brothers. And I remember Craig. I remember him like it's yesterday, rest his soul, saying to me, I just signed this band. Feldmann brought it to me. They're unreal. And I'm like, what are they called? The Used. Bert, I want to say it wasn't 4, 5, 6 months later the record came out and you guys were on Warped Tour, and I had, the single was out there, and it was just like, okay, now I get it. And Craig was right. You guys were great for as young as you were. A debut album. I mean, you guys hit it out of the park.
Yeah, we were beyond stoked. The record, I think I never stopped listening to it for about 2 years on repeat. Just loving every second of it. Yeah, Warped Tour was our end goal. We thought as soon as we play Warped Tour, we've succeeded, and that's all we were going for. So playing on Warped Tour the first year was just one of those most exciting, most beautiful, wonderful experiences that you could possibly have. I remember lots of bands coming over and watching us on the Volcom stage, and lots of kids getting really into it. One show in particular, the sound went out on the stage during the Taste of Ink, and it was just after the record came out, and everybody sang the song a cappella, and we were just, in awe, jaws dropped, like, holy shit, this is something.
Well, I always marvel, and everyone's story's different. Years ago, if I would have said something like this, it's like, oh, well, you almost sound like the way you did it was better. There's no right or wrong. Just because, you get signed out of the gate and you get a record that sounds like yours did. Speaking from personal experience, I mean, it took me and my band 3 or 4 records to develop a sound that we were proud of, to where, we were actually wanted people to hear this. We learned along the way, and we were able to become a better band over the course of 3, 4, 5 years. You guys had to do it pretty quick. You got this record that sounds amazing. That had to help you as players go, now we have to figure out how to execute this.
Yeah. When we were first playing shows in Utah, it was just all about going off and going crazy. You know what I mean? I would run a mile on that stage and end up throwing up all over the crowd. And it was wild. But as soon as we had the record, it's just like you said. It's time to focus. It's time to nail these parts down. As soon as we nail these parts down, then we can figure out how to go off. So yeah, it was a learning experience for us, but we were stoked. I think that I was in the same boat as you. I wasn't quite sure about the sound. I was in a hardcore band before, just all screaming, so I wasn't sure about a lot of it. I actually, while we were recording the record at Feldmann's, I quit the band for a little bit and disappeared. Went up to Santa Barbara and turned my phone off. And just, I don't know. In my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if this is what I really wanted. All my favorite bands are super small. They're playing the Tower Theater or DV8 or
right.
Bricks. I saw you guys at Bricks a couple times. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, and then Bricks, and then of course, what was it? DV8 Basement. It was called in Salt Lake.
DV8 Basement was the punk rock world down there. It
was like a 500-degree boiler room down there, and they would put you in a basement in the middle of the desert, and that's where you played.
So many good shows down there. It was awesome.
Well, and let's talk about that real quick, because I mentioned a little bit at the top, that scene you came from, it was really split into fragments. You had some really militant, straight edge, hardcore kids in Utah, Salt Lake at that time. You had the punks, you had the kind of the alternative kids, and how did that ultimately shape you as a writer and you as a band? Because again, you even mentioned a little bit ago that your influences were a little bit left of center from the rest of the band.
Right. Yeah, I spent at least 5 days a week driving up to Salt Lake to see rock shows, and a lot of the times as an artist, you're sitting back and you're kind of just maybe not listening to the music as much as taking it in and figuring out what they're doing and what you would do different. Yeah, so it was a lot of inspiration from just all the rock band. Salt Lake was a beautiful scene. It was so many straight edge hardcore shows, so many dirty punk rock shows, and everything in between. It was fantastic. We started down in Utah County, and every place we played, they would ask us to please never play here ever again.
Well, that means you're doing something right. And don't take this the wrong way, because I've thought this about my own band many times. I often wonder if we were in LA, especially when we started with the glut of all the ska punk thing in Southern California, if we just would have been another band and not got noticed. Did you ever feel that way, that being from Salt Lake kind of like would Feldmann have found your demo in Los Angeles?
Yeah, we were in a different situation. I think Utah is, especially Utah County where I grew up, it's probably 90% religious Mormons. And so it's really, really tough to be outside of that circle. It's really ostracizing, and people in the Mormon church, as Christians do, they believe it's their duty to bring you over to God. And if that's not the case, then they're a little bit upset about it. I remember people in our little neighborhood, and you would point out the people who weren't going to church. You knew exactly what house was drinking coffee. So yeah, my childhood was full of angst and anger and heartbreak and trauma. So I think, in a big way, I think being from Utah really put us in a different boat and kind of made us a completely different band than bands from LA.
Absolutely. And I just flash back. I can see us sitting in the front of the back lounge on tour somewhere. And we'd have a couple in us, and you'd start in on the whole religion thing out in Utah. And I'm like, here we go. Buckle up. Bert's on his tirade.
When you're young and you're atheist, it's all the rage, right? And then you grow up a little bit.
I'm telling you, you guys did stick out, and all those factors we talk about, they do play into who you are ultimately and who you become as a band. But I wanna get into the song now, Bert. It's 3 minutes and 28 seconds, and again, not saying this, I don't have to say it. I love this song. It just when I hear it, it takes me right back to that time period. And my listeners know there's nothing that can replace memories and those memories that you have attached to a song. It's awesome. Right off the top here, we get a clean yet slightly overdriven stereo guitars with just vocals. Sounds like all the vocals are doubled. Do you recall doubling up on pretty much everything?
Yeah, of course. That's Feldmann's trickery.
And I love the delay treatment he has on your voice. And before we go any further, John mixed this record. And I was talking to John about this recently, that where he came from in the late 90s, like doing that first show off record, that band out of Chicago. Yep. And then he did like one or two other records. The next thing you know, he did. I mean, I'm like, every time he made a record, he got better. And I feel like he really hit his initial stride with your first record. And the production that he did, to me, to these ears, this still sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange time in recording. Pro Tools was just kind of starting to be the thing.
Yeah.
And nobody knew how to use it really. Everybody was just kind of experimenting. And John has that kind of work ethic where he just put his head down in the computer and went crazy. So I think that initially a lot of the stuff on our record and a lot of the sounds you hear and a lot of the tricks he used were brand new, you know?
Yeah. And around this time, 2001, when you were tracking the record, or 2002, yeah, you're right. Pro Tools was in its infancy. I mean, bands were still, going to tape as much as they were to Pro Tools. And a lot of the bands, we were a guinea pig for producers. Like, hey, I got this thing called Auto-Tune. Let's check this out. make everyone sound like Cher. But up until the lyric, for a while now, it's just that guitar and the vocals here.
Is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Standing with your spotlight on me. Not enough to feed the hungry. I'm tired and I felt it for a while now. This sea of lonely. The taste of ink is getting old. It's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. Each day gets more ramble like the last day. Like a sea.
Is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Standing with your spotlight on me. Not enough to feed the hungry. I'm tired and I've felt it for a while now. In this sea of lonely, the taste of ink is getting old. It's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. Each day gets more and more like the last day.
Every part of that is everywhere I was. The taste of ink initially came from me writing, having a pen in my mouth, and the pen broke. And I literally had ink all over my face and my mouth.
I always thought this was maybe about your first tattoo.
No, it was about breaking a pen.
That's awesome. Okay.
And living at Quinn's house, I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything going on. It felt kind of like a loser. Everyone else in the house had a job. Quinn had a job. Would look at me when he came home like, what the fuck have you been doing?
Nothing. I've been getting baked all day writing lyrics.
So yeah, I was hungry, physically hungry, and mentally there's a hunger to be out there. It's really all we wanted is to be able to tour and play our music live for other people.
Were you jotting your ideas down as a young kid before you even knew you were going to be a songwriter? Did you write poetry and things like that? You strike me as someone that would express themselves that way.
Yeah, creative writing and poetry was always two of my favorite subjects in school. And I'm constantly writing poems. I have poems from back when I was 16, 17, 18.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Was this something that was maybe sitting around in a book that you're like, hey, Quinn or someone said, I got this idea for a riff, and you thumbed through your book and came across this, or was this written specifically for the track? Do you remember?
Yeah, this was just specifically for the track. I remember the song sounded so unique that I didn't really feel like a lot of the stuff I had would fit. A lot of my poems are kind of really positive and uplifting, and I thought this song deserved a little bit of hunger and force and longing.
When I look at this on paper, and you told me, and I know you had a rough upbringing, and there was the religious factor and everything that we discussed. But something about this line really jumps off the paper. In this sea of lonely, here you are, a young kid. You're crashing with your bro. You got a band, and I'm sure you were going to shows. What's that lonely you're speaking of there in that lyric?
I feel like it was really partly to do with me not having a job, me not having any prospects, I dropped out of school really young, and I felt like I was in my own little boat there. Quinn graduated from high school. I think Brandon did. Maybe Jeffa did not. But so I felt a little bit out of place. I listened to different music, and when they put on Rancid or Social Distortion, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? It's just not for me. So I was like, am I really outside of the circle here? Do I really fit in with this band? I love the guys, but do I really, is this really my spot?
Well, and of course, but Brandon Steineckert, drummer, has played with the Rancid for years. I don't hear any of that in the Used music. It's amazing that three guys in the band were so into that, and the one guy that wasn't. But your first record sounds anything like pop punk. What was going on in the '90s.
Right. Yeah, we all came from such different worlds. I think my inspirations and where I came from kind of helped push the band in a different direction. But we all were definitely searching for something new. We didn't want to be Rancid. We didn't want to be Head PE. We didn't want to be Korn. We wanted to be something outside of that. Just like I felt, we wanted to be something outside of the box, something outside of the circle.
You didn't sound like anybody. And again, I'm not kissing up, not just saying it because we're talking. You didn't sound like anybody. A lot of bands came after you that I felt bit off your sound, and that's probably the highest compliment you could get. Right. They're like, wow, this is a great sound. But we talked about the vocals here. How many times have I heard this song? How many times have I seen you play it live? And it didn't dawn on me till I'm sitting here really deconstructing it. The vocals, every line's punched here. Okay, it's like an overdub. What was that like singing this song live for the first time? You had to really adapt that, right?
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I was really kind of anti Pro Tools and anti the computer and anti Auto-Tune, and I didn't really know what we were doing. But yeah, the lyrics flow so evenly and like never really stopped that we would do, is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Not enough to feed the hungry, alternating every line. And
you're sitting there as a 20-year-old kid, you're going, what are you doing? How is this going to work?
Yep. Felt super strange. Didn't really like how it felt. But after hearing the finished product, I was like, dude, this is genius. I'm so stoked.
It is. And I got to tell you, I don't know if you had producer John Feldmann in 2023. I could be wrong. I just know for me, if I would have gotten this song, I don't know if I would have done those overdubs. I might have had you been like, hey, let's just take out a word here. Do you have to say,
right,
not enough on this line? Could we take that part out and just tighten it up a little bit? Because it almost shouldn't work on paper, but it's awesome.
Yeah. I think if we re-recorded it, which we will never do, what a waste of time that would be. Yeah, re-recording your old stuff. I'm not trying to diss any other bands. But yeah, if we ever did re-record the song, I would probably sing it straight. I've had so much practice, and we've played the song thousands and thousands of times, probably.
Right. Well, halfway through here, there's a nice bass guitar slide in with the drums and an overtone or harmonic of a guitar panned off right, and that lasts until the line, the taste of ink is getting old. I love those little nuances, those little chorusy guitar parts that are coming in and out. And I know that as a young band that was most likely John Feldmann's suggestion of, hey, try this. And
right.
What was that like? That had to just be so exciting, because I didn't get into stuff like that, like I said, Bert, till probably my fourth or fifth record. Right. There was no bunch of overdubs and doubling vocals. We didn't have the money or the time or the know-how.
Yeah, it was a learning process. It was a learning curve for me to kind of swallow my pride, do away with the rotten ego, and take some take some constructive criticism in a good way. We had a lot of rearrangements and changing of parts and flipping parts around. A lot of stuff from our demos was changed, which, you know, about demos, you listen to demos so much and you just kind of get, what do they call it? Demo.
You get married to it.
Yeah, you do. And so when we went out there and he's trying to chop all our songs up, I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing right now?
Well, I wanted to ask you, did you were young. How protective were you, especially of your lyrics?
Very. But it's a good thing John was really, really into the lyrical content. So I didn't change anything except for the chorus of The Taste of Ink. Everything else was kind of, everything else was set. And slowly but surely got into John Feldmann's vibe. He's such a good guy that it's hard not to take some criticism from him and learn from it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I could speak for myself. There's been, not even in music, just instances in life where you're like, at some point, I guess what I'm saying is the honeymoon's over. This guy flies you out. He heard the demo. He puts you up. He records the demo. You're flying high. Now you're doing the record. And like I said, you've known him for a while, and now you're like, what are you doing to my songs? Why are you deconstructing them? There had to be a moment of that, as you said.
Yeah, I think the whole band kind of went through that. We were all very scared. Like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that this was what producers do. But what we got was epic. So we were all really stoked.
Absolutely epic. I mean, as I said, this song is 21 years old now, and it still sounds just as amazing to me as the day it was released. Still, I can see it coming while I'm standing in the river drowning. This could be my chance to break out. This could be my chance to say goodbye. At last, it's finally over. Couldn't take this town much longer. Being half dead wasn't what I planned to be. Now I'm ready to be free.
The longing and the hunger really kind of presents itself there. Was done with Utah, was done with especially Pleasant Grove, Utah. Was done with the life I knew and wanted to be on tour. That's the foundation of this song, is that longing to be on tour. Simple as that.
Hey everybody, we got lots more coming up with Bert McCracken after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
Hey guitar lovers, what if I told you that this fall you could escape to the Catskills and spend 4 days learning from the greatest Telecaster players on the planet? Introducing Masters of the Telecaster, happening September 29th through October 3rd at the beautiful Full Moon Resort in Big Indian, New York, just 2.5 hours from New York City. You'll get up close and personal with guitar legends like Guthrie Trapp, Larry Campbell, G.E. Smith, Carolyn Wonderland, Cindy Cash Dollar, and many more. These icons have played with everyone from Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson to Norah Jones and Mick Jagger. It's an all-inclusive, once-in-a-lifetime music vacation featuring world-class instruction, gourmet meals, gorgeous accommodations, and jam sessions in the heart of the Catskills. And no, you don't need to own a Telecaster to come. All skill levels are welcome, and scholarships are available through Music Masters Collective. Space is extremely limited, so grab your spot now. mastersoftetelecaster.org/the500. Once again, that's mastersoftetelecaster.org/the500. I'll see you there. I might go.
Get your saddest songs together and get ready for a decidedly not sad time at Sad Song Summer Camp, July 15th through the 18th at Full Moon Resort in the Catskills. Join the Milk Carton Kids, Joe Henry, Paper Wings, and more for an unforgettable musical experience just 2.5 hours from New York City. Whether you're a songwriter or a fan, this all-inclusive retreat offers immersive classes, performances, and the chance to step beyond backstage. Every participant gets hands-on time with the artists to fine-tune their songwriting, plus immersive classes and evening performances in a stunning mountain setting. Spots are extremely limited. Learn more and register now at www.sadsongsummercamp.com/DeMakes.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free paint or exterior stain sample to test your look and find the perfect color to confidently refresh your space. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer valid in-store only, 5/8 through 5/14. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See associate for details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And now, back to the show.
Do you look back now, because you were young when you wrote this, I'd be so proud of these lyrics myself still. I think they're fantastic. When you look at them, do they feel, I don't know what the word is, do they feel juvenile? I wouldn't do this today. Or are you still proud of them? Because I think you should be.
Yeah. Still very, very proud of them. I don't know. I don't understand how bands survive not playing their old stuff, you know?
How do you go see the Used? You don't play this song? I'd be pissed.
Yeah, going to see the Used and not playing the Taste of Ink, confusing and horrible.
Yeah, what did a tornado blow in? Did they lose power for the stage? Well, why didn't they play? There's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
Again, I love the lyrics. I love what's going on here. Talk to me about standing in the river drowning. Was that a metaphor for drowning in your emotions, or was that an actual river?
That was a metaphor for feeling overwhelmed by the nothingness of Utah, the kind of real dark side of Utah where everyone's really judgmental, and that feels like a sea of lonely.
I love the underdog. I think that's one of the reasons why I love your band so much, as I know the story of where you came from, and, you know, from your parents not getting what you're doing. He's a dropout. He's taken the left turn in the fork here. And did they, or any of your family members, I'm sure they had to at some point, did they ever see 10,000 kids jumping to the Taste of Ink or some of your songs and going, they're singing my kids' lyrics?
They do now. I think in the beginning they were a little skeptical, and they're like, okay. From the time I was 8 years old, I was telling everybody that I was going to be a singer and sing on stage. And, you know, you get the classic, okay, but you better have a backup plan just in case.
Yeah. What's plan B?
Yeah, plan B just becomes plan A, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm still going to be laying on living at Quinn's couch. I might fall off it. I'm going to get back on it and go back to sleep. That's about it. At the end here, well, actually, halfway through the second half of verse 1, the hi-hats on the back half open up really wide, and it's just driving before that chorus. I never noticed that before till I got under the microscope here, and I just love how it opens up there. On the line, now I'm ready to be free. The band stops and hangs for one bar. On bar 2, the drums, bass, and guitars do a quick build-up to launch into chorus 1, and that's where I wrote here in my notes in parentheses, demo, because that was the one thing up to this point. It was like, ooh, there's the song, and then it took forever to get to what I thought was going to be the chorus. Then you guys just went completely left of center there, which was really interesting to see. Do you remember? Did John say we need a chorus, and how did the chorus eventually end up happening?
Yeah, John loved the song. Straight up said this chorus is rotten. This chorus is no good, which didn't sit well with me that much. But he kind of coddled me and consoled me. Hey, everything's going to be okay. Let's go down to the beach with an acoustic guitar. And just being out in Los Angeles during that time, I was like, this is it. We did it. We made it. And that's kind of what the chorus is about. Having the whole world in your hands and knowing that everything is cool. Everything's going to be awesome. That's kind of where we were at.
It's a little hippie-ish, the sentiment, but it's beautiful though, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You were wearing your heart on your sleeve, man. You were saying like, I've arrived. Here I am in LA. And I think that's so awesome that chorus came out of it.
So here I am, it's in my hand, and I'll savor every moment of this. So here I am, alive at last, and I'll savor every moment of this.
So here I am. It's in my hands, and I'll savor every moment of this. So here I am, alive at last, and I'll savor every moment of this. Did you feel like you arrived, that you were alive?
Yeah, we're starting to hear the recorded demos, and it's like, this is the greatest thing. I can't believe this is happening to us. And really wanted to soak everything in. It was like everything we dreamed of so far is about to happen. So in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be the best part. This is the best part, just getting in there, playing the small shows, touring with bands that are crazy. We toured with Mushroom Head, we toured with Pressure 4 or 5, all these bands that, sadly aren't around. But
we were out with you guys with Snoop Dogg and Korn. So,
so wild.
Which again, we could have a whole other podcast on that tour alone, which was insane.
Debauchery.
Man, this chorus, these big, huge stereo guitars come in. They sound massive, Bert, and they sound angry. They sound pissed off. The drums and bass are rocking a killer groove. The vocals are doubled here. They're loose though, but they're ripping.
Right.
They're not completely lined up, even though you were on the grid in Pro Tools. John let that breathe. I know he knows that that's important.
Right.
And having that rub on that double, it just adds power when sometimes when stuff is really loose, as you know, it doesn't add anything. It sounds off and awful. I love it here. And we get our first harmony in the song on every moment of this. And how was that? Had you ever like harmonized with yourself prior to this?
Yeah, I sang in choirs and religious, groups. And my dad's a choir singer. He sang for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which is a huge deal for him.
That's big. That's awesome.
Big.
Okay.
And so I was well aware of my ability to harmonize, and getting in there. John Feldmann's like, wow. I don't even have to tell you what to do. You know exactly what to sing. So that's always been one of my strong points is harmonies.
It's really interesting, Bert, how this song builds. You only get 4 words in chorus 1 with a harmony, and later on you get a bunch more. And do you recall like singing all harmonies over everything, and then maybe later when John mixed it, he decided to put a harmony here or there, or were they specifically where they are now? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think that they were planned out. I think that he has a style that he's constantly going for. He has a plan, and I think that building those choruses, having a little touch on the first chorus, or maybe even no harmony on the first chorus, and then kind of blowing it out on the second chorus. Third chorus is even bigger with ad-lib tracks and oohs and ahs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was intentional.
It's very cool. Well, verse 2 comes right off the heels of chorus 1. And won't you think I'm pretty when I'm standing top the bright lit city, and I'll take your hand and pick you up and keep you there so you can see, as long as you're alive and care. I promise I will take you there. We'll drink and dance the night away. We'll drink and dance the night away. Oh, what's going on there?
I had a girlfriend at the time, was really excited to have her come on this journey with me. Didn't last, but yeah, also when I was growing up, I got bullied quite a bit. People would call me the F slur, and they'd call me gay. They would say I had AIDS. And so Won't You Think I'm Pretty is kind of a stab at all the bullying that I went through. And now it's, things have changed so much that it's amazing to be exactly who you are. But in that moment, that was kind of trying to hurt the bullies that hurt me.
I was out of my mind when I was your age, and I was out at punk shows and all the stuff that goes along with it, drinking and everything, and getting crazy. But I didn't have that hurt that you grew up with. I wasn't bullied. I could see that in you, and you took that angst to the stage. I mean, you used to, in a good way, you used to scare me when you'd get on stage. Here's this guy. I don't know how tall you are, 5'6", 120 pounds, soaking wet. Angry. And that wasn't put on. That wasn't a show. That was coming from here, man.
No, yeah, I think that I am really proud of the lyrics to my entire catalog. I think that some songs are hit and miss, but I think that most songs I found that way to sneak my poems in there and sneak my inspiration in there. But yeah, in the beginning, I'm not even in the beginning. Every time I sing The Taste of Ink, I can't help but be transported right back to that room that I wrote it in. Just like you were saying earlier, music is such a connection to memory. It's such a powerful, powerful drug. Just like taste and smell. I think that those types of things can take you right back to where you were.
Well, have you ever done that with like guys you became friends with in the business or what, you drive down the road and sometimes you listen to their music, and I listen to The Taste of Ink all the time still. Like it comes on playlists and I'll crank it as loud as my stereo goes, and I got goosebumps talking about it. It takes me back to those times when it was different. It was before we had kids. It was a lot of the firsts were still happening. Definitely with your band. When I met you, we had been through some stuff where we got a couple years on you. But it's just such an exciting time, and that those memories that are attached to that, it takes me right back to Project Revolution when I hear this. I go right back there.
Yeah, that was a messy tour for me. I think that starting out, I just wanted to destroy. I just wanted to cause trouble, wreak havoc, and maybe be noticed for it.
Well, and you did. We had a bus driver that came on the bus one night about 2 a.m, and he had a bowl of cereal sitting on the counter, and he turned his back to get a garbage bag or something. He's kind of tidying up the front lounge, and you just decided that you were going to take a spoonful of his cereal right then. And he threw you off the bus, and we saw you the next day.
It's the little things.
Yeah, I guess you like Honey Nut Cheerios. Who knew?
Oh,
but
I do.
That's what Frank ate. Verse 2, we get a harmony on the very end on Dance the Night Away. Interesting placement of that harmony. The lead vocal in verse 2 is a little bit more gruff here than verse 1, and it really needed to be, Bert, coming off that chorus. I mean, you're screaming your heart out. The double track lead vocal is way more audible here than verse 1 too. Halfway through, you get a cool chorusy overdriven guitar lick panned off left that comes in again. It's such a great part. I love that. And on the last line, the band doesn't stop this time, but the drums kind of introduce these two new fills to take us into chorus 2.
So here I am, it's in my hands, and I'll savor every moment of this. So here I am, alive at last, and I'll savor every moment of this. Savor every moment of this.
Chorus 2 is again doubled vocals with sporadic harmonies. It's the same lyrics as chorus 1. We get a harmony this time on am on the first line. On hands, we get on the third line am and at last, and no other harmonies in the song. So I know you said that you think John had it mapped out, but looking on paper, they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Pro Tools was in its infancy, so I think everyone's just kind of figuring out how to use it. Maybe that's a huge part of it.
Well, my listeners, they ad nauseum, they hear me talk about this so much, like placements of harmonies. I've been fascinated with it. Doing every time I look down, I'll say to myself, man, I got to get a little more creative. I'll always do my harmonies on the second and fourth line or something. I'm like, wait a second, there's other ways to do this here. You know, it's really opened up my mind to that. It's really interesting to me.
That's cool.
After chorus 2, the very end, savor every moment of this. You let out a great scream on this line. It's not overdone or too angsty. It's perfect. And then it gets into the 12-bar bridge. And let's remember here, Bert, this song is only 2 chord progressions.
Yeah.
It's the sonic tapestry of what you guys were able to accomplish with John, these parts weaving in and out, some of the odd chords that Quinn was using. It wasn't just straight up bar chords, you know. This part is probably my favorite part of the song. I mean, I probably listened to it 30 times the last couple of days, and every time the part came on, just goosebumps.
So alive, here I am. I promise I will take you there as long as you're alive. Here I am. I promise I will take you there.
The whole mood changes here. This part is the same progression as the choruses, but the orchestration here is beautiful. There's some buried vocals with heavy delay kind of circling around, like "Here I Am," that's kind of harking from the chorus. Those are kind of happening here, along with the broken down drums. It's just kick, hi-hat, some light tom work, bass, shakers. I'm hearing a piano and what sounds like some vocal pads you mentioned a little bit ago.
Right.
I'm hearing some stuff really buried here in the mix, and the 2 guitars are doing a great harmony lead together. And on this bridge, the lyric is, "As long as you're alive, here I am. I promise I will take you there. As long as you're alive, here I am. I promise I will take you there." And I saw every kid from 15 to 25 with their arms in the air for that lyric in particular. There's something about that is so unifying and uplifting. It's a great lyric.
Yeah, I think wanted to involve the whole world. I was in this place where everything was happening, and I felt like playing shows is when I would go to shows and feel that inspiration, and you walk away from the show just on fire. Like you want to go and write, you want to go and get creative. And I wanted to create those kind of shows. I wanted to take everyone with me on this journey.
The sentiment in that lyric was on the demo. That melody was, I know John heard that melody, because that melody in that bridge is gold. That, to me, the whole song's great, but that part is just, it is so good. Coming out of the bridge, we get a third verse. which I think is great because you need it. You can't come out of that 12-bar bridge, same chord progression as the chorus and hit a chorus. You have to go back to the verse. And won't you think I'm pretty when I'm standing top the bright lit city? And I'll take your hand and pick you up and keep you there so you can see it. As long as you're alive and care, I promise I will take you there. As long as you're alive and care, I promise I will take you there. And it's the same lyrics here as verse 2, except for the last two lines, which are repeated. Hi-hat is wide open. Guitars sound bigger here than the other verses. Maybe they were mixed a dB louder or something. Halfway through, that chorusy, overdriven guitar lick, panned off left, comes in again. It's so moving. On the last line, you get a great scream on the word there to get us into chorus 3. And I noticed here in verse 3, there's no harmonies at all. You got one little harmony on verse 2, no harmonies here. Do you recall doing them and maybe they didn't make the mix, or did you want to leave them out?
I think John wanted to leave it bare on that, get really vulnerable on that part. This is the last kind of big part before we end, you know?
And then we get into chorus 3. We got the same lyrics here, except we get an extra savor every moment of this. And here's where we get the most harmonies. It's on am on the first line, in my hands, savor every moment of this on the second line, am and last in the third line, savor every moment of this for the next three lines, the same line, savor every moment of this, harmony is on everything there. The double unison vocals are here again, but the harmonies split off here, as I just said, on the different words. And on moment of this, it's really emphasized and screamed before we go into the 12-bar outro fade out. And this part's really interesting because I never noticed. It was probably just, I don't know, kind of fading at one of the Warped Tour parties or fading in my car. But the end of this becomes like a 6 or 7 second train wreck at the end of this track that you don't hear in the official video that you guys released. It was already faded out by then. This part is the verse progression. It's the essentially the intro, but it's an outro here. And there's some inaudible talking panned off left here. Bert, do you recall what that was?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's some talking going on over here. It's almost like the feeling of like the party's winding down. Like This is the end of the tune, and there's some people just still hanging out, not wanting the night to be over or something. That's the vibe it gives me.
Yeah, I remember the song's so pretty, we felt like we had to destroy it at the end.
Okay, and that makes sense because there's also that inaudible talking is panned off left, along with a guitar panned off left, and that guitar panned off left is loosely playing the verse melody there at the end. And on bars 8 through 12, that's where everything starts to fall apart. If you listen intently in headphones and crank it up, the guitar notes are kind of sliding around. They're not correct, and it kind of falls apart. But I never knew that until I did this.
Nice. Yeah, we'd love to do that live as well. It's so much fun to just kind of get gnarly, to get rough.
So I got to ask, and I think I know the answer. What was it like the first time Feldmann goes, I got to mix up, and you're in the studio on the big speakers, and he presses play? What was that like?
Yeah, it's one of those moments. You kind of just know. You have those songs that are just kind of everything you'd want out of a song. And when he played that one it was those three. It was Taste of Ink, Boxful, and maybe Memories. But Taste of Ink was just this anomaly. It was a specter.
I'm not talking about the haters and, some of the too cool for school punkers back in Utah, but your close friends, the crowd you ran with that loved you, what did they think of this?
They couldn't believe it. They could not believe how good it sounded. They were like, this is not you guys. This is crazy.
Right.
This is
Right.
crazy. And I remember playing those three songs for literally everyone over and over and over again. It's really cool.
Oh, man. Well, listen, we've been trying to get this together. The time change with Australia is kind of a nightmare to do this. So thank you so much. It was great to see your face again. It's probably been 10 years since I've seen you.
Yeah.
And but before we break, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with? I understand that you got a new record coming out soon, May 19th. Is it called Toxic Positivity?
Right. Yep. Fans can expect the most downtrodden and negative record from the Used they've ever heard. I think we recorded it mostly in, I want to say, well, whatever it was still deep into the pandemic where nobody could go anywhere or do anything. And those feelings, I think the pandemic destroyed a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So I think that this record kind of reflects that. It comes around in the end. We get that hopeful Used message in the end, but these are a bunch of songs that are, as an artist, you can only write where you're at,
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it. And again, man, I'm really glad that you look back very fondly on this song, because as you said, we see a lot of artists like, oh, I was a kid, and that was a song, and they kind of want to distance themselves from it and not play it, and the fact that you still embrace it, that's awesome.
Yeah, we love it. Oftentimes people are like, I mean, how much longer can you do this? How much longer are you going to go out there and sing Taste of Ink? I hope for another 20, 30 years, till I'm Willie Nelson.
Yeah, till no one's showing up at the Rib Fest. I'm going to be singing.
Yep. I'll be singing the Taste of Ink.
I hope you all loved that conversation with Bert as much as I did. Amazing song, amazing band. I can't wait to talk about this with Chris in the rap segment that's coming right up, as well as the band you might not know. It's all coming up right after a few words from our sponsors.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things. No unwritten rules, and no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free 1-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
21 plus and present in Virginia. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus vest that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, this is Javon, your Blinds.com design consultant.
Oh, wow. A real person.
Yep. I'm here to help with everything from selecting the perfect window treatments to...
Wow.
I've got a complicated project.
No problem. I can even help schedule a professional measure and install. We can also send you samples fast and free.
I just might have to do more.
Whatever you need.
So the first room we're looking at is for
Shop Blinds.com now and get up to 50% off with minimum purchase. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You want to hear the real story behind the rock artists, the albums, and the songs that have become the soundtrack of your life, straight from the legends who lived them? I'm Adam Reeder, the Professor of Rock, and on the Professor of Rock podcast, we go deep into the heart of the music that defines us and our greatest memories. Exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes moments, and the untold truths of rock's greatest hits, told by the artists themselves, stories you won't find anywhere else. If music moves you, this is your backstage pass. Subscribe now to the Professor of Rock podcast.
Hey everybody, Satan here. I know what you're thinking. Jesus Christ, Satan has a podcast now too? No, that's not it. But I am here to tell you about a podcast, and it's one that's all about my favorite band, Punchline. Not the band you expected me to say, right? You probably figured I'd like Slayer, or maybe some backwards Beatles records or something. Those are okay. But you usually find me rocking out to fan-favorite Punchline albums like Action or Lion while I'm torturing dead people for all of eternity. Punchline's podcast is called A Band Called Punchline, and it's super entertaining to listen to this documentary-style look back at the 25 years of my favorite band. Honestly, I'm really feeling like I'm getting to know these guys, and their story is amazing. I'm so ready for them to get down here. I have so many questions. I gotta give them credit for catching on to my whole 37 thing, too. There's a reason why they're my favorite band, and if you listen to their podcast, they might become yours, too. A Band Called Punchline is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Check it out, and I'll see you all in hell.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes A Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Eerie, spelled E.R.I.E. They're an indie rock band from Albany, New York, consisting of TJ, Chad, Levi, and Matt. They have a new LP out now called Suburban Mayhem. Here's a snippet of their song, Bad Man's World.
I swear, I should have kissed more boys. I should have kissed more girls. I'm trying to find my place in a bad, bad, bad man's world.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, I think I'm on the same page as you. I think The Taste of Ink is one of the greatest songs from our world of music. I think that album is one of the greatest albums. That used debut album, I'll never forget the first time I heard it. It was like unbelievable. And I wasn't really into screaming. I mean, I liked Glassjaw. I liked here and there, but for the most part, I wasn't like a big screaming guy, but just the way he screams and the way he sings, what a voice. Melodies are amazing. Lyrics are amazing. I mean, I think it's a perfect album. And man, I was excited about this episode.
Yeah, and I kind of tread a little lightly. The band he has together now is fantastic. And I don't know how he feels about ex-members. Some bands are weird about that. But these kids, this lineup that played on this, they were next level. They really were. John Feldmann really took their strengths and harnessed that as a producer and brought out these amazing songs. But just the talent, the instincts they had as young performers, and they were fresh-faced kids when I met them, man. They just had these, wide-eyed look of like what's going on, and they took the world by storm at that point. They were awesome. They are awesome.
Wild live show too. You got into that to a certain extent, and just they kind of had it all. They had the perfect album, a crazy live show, and like you said, they influenced, Jesus, can you imagine how many bands, think about like Warped Tours like 5 to 8 years later, how many bands were trying to sound like The Used. And it got to a point where it's like, I disliked all of those bands. I love The Used, but all the bands that try to sound like them, I'm like, you don't sound like them. You're trying to, but you don't.
Yeah, they had their own thing. This wasn't a screamer that went backwards and learned how to sing. This was a choir boy. This is a kid that grew up singing, okay? And he would go out, and like I said, I kind of joked with him in the episode, but, he never fooled me. Like, I could hear on stage, you knew, and his pitch was good, his parts were good, and then he could also scream with the best of them.
Yeah, and he could also be a wild, crazy guy on stage, for sure. I definitely witnessed it several times. I thought it was really interesting that you got into the fact that this song, it's 2 chord progressions, right? There's only 2 that ever happened?
That's it. It's 2 chord progressions, but I use the term, it's the sonic tapestry. It's what's going on with those parts. I've always made that argument, even within the confines of my band. I've had that same conversation. I know it's only 2 progressions, but think of what we're doing here. The horns are here. It's clean guitar during this progression. It's distorted guitar over here. And the way that John and the band put these parts together with only 2 chord progressions, it takes you on an amazing little ride. If
it's a great song, you don't even notice.
Right.
But if it's a bad song, you notice because you're bored.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I thought that was really, really cool. And it's kind of a lesson to us all. You don't need to get crazy and have a million different parts in your song to have it be a great song. I think it's kind of a young way of thinking where you think, I want to impress everybody with how many different parts and how many different chords and chord progressions and feels I can do in a song. But this song, it puts you in a mood and keeps you there, and it's pretty much a perfect song. And that's why I think Bert says, yeah, I'll play this song forever. I'll be Willie Nelson in this song one day, because why not?
Yeah, his attitude was so refreshing. I don't know if he would have maybe said that even 10 years ago. I think he's at a point in his life now where he's like, yeah, this is, look what I created. I would love to keep being able to do this. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to get to live out this dream. But what a story. As I said to Bert, I've always rooted for the underdog, Chris. And here they were, you don't get too many bands out of Utah. And yeah. Feldmann, he heard something in these demos. As I said, the demo for Taste of Ink, which I know we have some clips in this episode, the demo and what this song ended up being, it's incredible, but the demo still had some of these melodies. As I said to Bert, it had that bridge part, that lyric, as long as you're alive, here I am, I promise I will take you there. And the blueprint was there, and it took the producer, which we've talked about this numerous times on the show, what a producer brings. The producer doesn't get attached like Bert is to his lyrics or the guitar player is to his part. He's just objectively sitting over here going, yeah, but that part doesn't work. I know you love it, but it could be better. And look what they came up with.
And speaking of take you there, you talked about this, but I'm the same way, man. When I hear this song, this album, it takes me back to that time. Myself, all my friends, we love this. It puts me in the car with old girlfriends driving down the road listening to it. It takes me to Warped Tours. It takes me to, hey, we listen to this a lot in the van on tour. It takes me to like driving in the van. It takes me to like, I was not to the extent they were, but experiencing like excitement of, oh, people like our band and we're touring and things are happening. And I relate that to this too. I love how music can do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope our paths cross again. We used to have a ball with the Used. One of my favorite bands to tour with. And speaking of having a ball, Chris, you know where I'm going with this?
I think I do. Are you going to talk about our supporting cast in our after party podcast?
How do you know every week, man? Jeez, I'm not going to try
anymore.
After
100 times in a row of doing this in the rap, I think I got it figured out.
Well, then tell our listeners what they get.
Yeah, if you go to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up for our supporting cast, it's not very expensive. There's a $5 level and a $10 level. And you support the podcast. You allow us to keep doing this. And in return, we'll give you a weekly bonus episode of a podcast called The After Party. We put just as much love into The After Party as we do to Chris DeMakes A Podcast. We love making it. And I don't know, judging by what people say about it, people enjoy listening to it too. At least they tell me they do. So ChrisDeMakes.com is where you can go to sign up for our supporting cast.
Thank God you did that. I could not have said it any better myself. Thank you, Chris.
I'm good at it.
You are. And give me a follow on Instagram, please. I'd love it. At less.
Me too.
Yeah.
How about me too?
Yeah.
Can people follow? You always say that, but I never get to say, hey, follow me on Instagram too, Chris Fafalius. You can figure out how to spell it, but yeah, me too.
You know what? I'm not even going to give my handle. Just follow Chris Fafalius. That will make me feel fantastic. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, the Chris DeMakes A Podcast Facebook group. We'd love to have you be a part of that. It is always a lot of fun. And I want to thank this week's guest, Bert McCracken from The Used. And we'll see you next week.
I didn't mean that you had to not say yours. I was just being funny, but... Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come.
6 months from now, you could be running a 5K, booking that dream trip, or seeing thicker, fuller hair every time you look in the mirror. Through Hers, you can get dermatologist-trusted, clinically proven prescriptions with ingredients that go beyond what over-the-counter products offer. Whether you prefer oral or topical treatments, Hers has you covered. Getting started is simple. Just fill out an intake form online, and a licensed provider will recommend a customized plan just for you. The best part? Everything is 100% online. If prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No pharmacy trips, no waiting rooms, and no insurance headaches. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/talk. That's FORHERS.com/talk. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.